Welcome back to Mashup Week 15. As you know, I am Dean with the Tailgate Foodie, and during Mashup, we take the cuisines of the Sunday night NFL game and we mash them together. Last week was a beauty, especially because my Packers won. Go Pack, go. This week, honestly, I should be making something for Christmas. But when I looked at the two teams playing, Cowboys versus Buccaneers, I just had to do something that I've wanted to do for a long time. I'm gonna smoke up some beef. I'm gonna make a nice little sandwich. And some people are gonna argue, and that's fine. Between Miami and Tampa, they have a big rivalry on who actually created this sandwich. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. More than likely, I'll come out with a Christmas mashup, or just something that's just like a creative take on a Christmas food like I did for Thanksgiving. So stay tuned for that, and also stay tuned because this sandwich, it's the most excited I've been for a mashup this entire year. It is my favorite sandwich, and I get to do a twist on it and make some really dope smoked food. Cheers, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
So honestly, what you're going to do is just buy all your classic Cuban sandwich ingredients except pulled pork. You're going to do a chuck roast or honestly a brisket, and that'll be totally fine. This part is completely optional, but it's going to end in a better finished product. You're going to want to get that beef ice cream in the microwave to get melted. Once you get the proper amount of radiation into your beef ice cream and get it nice and melted, you're going to want to pull out the biggest syringe that you have, fill that thing up with that liquid gold, and at even increments, you're going to want to inject down into the meat. You might squirt it a little bit. A lot of people will use mustard on their binder. If I'm injecting with the fat, you're going to get some on the outside anyway, so that's what I use as my binder for things like this, for brisket, for chuck roast, beefy things that I inject. You're going to want to come in with a heavy layer of seasoning. You're going to want to coat all the sides. The reason for the heavier layer is because you are going to be smoking it for quite some time. Even though this was only 2 pounds, it's still smoked for like 5 hours. So I tend to season a little bit more aggressively on longer smokes. Like I said, you want to make sure that all the sides get nice and coated. Sometimes the seasoning does stick to the pan a little bit, and that's totally fine. Just get that spot again. No, my smoker did not do blow. It is a snowstorm here in Wisconsin, but I still wanted to get a cook in, and guess what? You can use these outdoor cooking machines during snowstorms. It's totally fine. I don't always wrap my meat, but I was just feeling it today. Honestly, a big part was I just kind of wanted to get the cook done so that way I could finish this video. So I wrapped it at 175 and took the internal temperature up to about 205, and it was just perfect. So I pulled it back off the smoker. I threw it in an oven that was turned off and just let it rest for about an hour. After about an hour, honestly, it was still hot to the touch, which is great. It definitely was not overcooked. It was just nice and easy to cut through. If I'm not shredding my chuck roast for shredded beef and I'm slicing it like a brisket, I find the fat seam that kind of runs down the middle of the chuck roast, and I cut it down that first so that way I can get better cuts on multiple pieces. And this thing just pulls apart just like a brisket. After getting my little taste test in to make sure everything was perfect, I got to slicing up the rest of the chuck roast so that way I could start putting together this beautiful, beautiful Cuban sandwich. This bread was super soft, so I wasn't about to use a bread knife and just squish it, so I used my sharp knife. Didn't cut it super great, but it is what it is. It still tasted the same, so who cares? I genuinely don't know why I left this in the edit, but here is another 10 seconds of me cutting the other side of the bread. Did a little bit better this time. Now for the building. You're going to start off with a dual layer of that Lowcountry Gold because it takes this sandwich over the top. That nice smoky chuck roast next. I broke up a part of deli sliced Swiss cheese because I didn't want too much cheese. Just some nice honey ham and then some Grillo pickles. I went in there with a fork at first. That was dumb. Might as well just use my fingers. So here we go. Throw on a whole bunch of pickles because they pair so perfectly with that smoked meat. That's a good looking sandwich. I don't have a panini press, which is totally fine. I do have 2 cast iron skillets though. So I can get the same effect just using the 2 cast iron skillets. I squish it down on one side, get a nice crust. I do a little flippity floppity, and I get that other side of the crust going. Man, this was so good. Look at it. It's perfectly flat. It's crunchy. It's crispy. It is a Cuban sandwich.
Yeah. So we have smoked chuck roast for the Cowboys. We have pickles. We got the ham. We got Lowcountry Gold. So a smoked beef Cubano, nice and flat, nice and crunchy. Here we go. There's a reason why Cubanos are my favorite sandwich. And the beef, I think, takes it even further over the top. Because usually you have the pulled pork with the ham. So it's pig on pig, which is sometimes delicious. But this with the beef instead of the pulled pork, it's ridiculous. It's so good. Plus you have the Grillo pickles, which the added crunch there. Lowcountry Gold. Instead of just using regular mustard, you have to use Lowcountry Gold. You get that huge tang from apple cider vinegar with that smoked deliciousness. Mashup, week 15, did not disappoint. I was totally right with the beginning part of the video. This is my favorite thing that I've made for Mashup. It's smoky, it's crunchy, it's crispy. There's so many awesome flavors in this sandwich. I'm really happy I went not with the Christmas meal and went with the Cuban sandwich because this is freaking ridiculous.